The lady that I'm introducing you today, her name is Jennifer LaCharity, and she is actually a journalist from the Canadian prairies. In fact, from the very community that I live in. So we've been connected through Facebook throughout her adventures out in Costa Rica, and I've been asking her for a little while if she would come and let me interview her because traveling to Costa Rica, I've been there before, and it was one of the places that I was hoping to get to go to this winter. But I'm going to find out what it actually is like there. So everybody can absolutely ask lots of questions, but we won't be able to address them till towards the end of the interview. And with that, I'm going to introduce Jennifer. Hey,
hi,
how
everyone.
are you?
Good. How are you? I heard it's cold there.
Good. I'm good. I was going to say the weather's so nice here for January, but what is the temperature for you?
Well, it's 27 degrees right now.
Celsius.
Yes, and it's I mean, it's already dark. It's been dark for 2 hours, so it stays roughly around. That's as cool as it gets.
You stay dark for a really long time, like all year long. The sun goes down early, not like here in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's around 6 p.m. all the time.
And then when does it come up?
You know when you get some relief. Well, I'm not really up that early, but I think it comes up. Yeah, I think it comes up around 5:36.
Wow.
But it's all you can handle of the heat. So 12 hours is plenty.
I keep forgetting that. Yeah, when the sun goes down, it's going to cool off, and that's a really refreshing break for you.
Yeah, it doesn't cool off too much, but 27 is still pretty. I mean, you're still wearing shorts and tank tops at this time of day. It's not like summertime nights, which is what I thought it would be like originally. You know, summertime nights back home where you still are going to, maybe you could wear shorts, but you might need a sweater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you won't need. I mean, it's totally different if you go inland a little bit. It's much cooler. I'm right on the coast, the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, so it's hot.
Oh, that is so awesome. So do you hit the water a lot?
I mean, certainly a lot more than I would back home. I don't go a whole lot because I don't like to go swimming in the ocean alone. So I make sure I have a friend within like 5 feet, like within grabbing distance of me.
Yeah.
I guess because I'm not used to ocean swimming. Used to lake swimming.
Different. Yeah. So now the first time you went to Costa Rica was 7 years ago. And how long were you there then?
Well, it was supposed to just be a 3-week trip, but I ended up extending it to 5 weeks.
Okay.
And I was staying with a friend. And strangely enough, I met a man at that time.
Do tell.
And it was a really, I mean, as soon as we locked eyes, there was just something, like I felt like I knew this person already or something. There was this instant comfort, I guess. It wasn't like, you know, like maybe you hear about this hit of like intensity. It was more calm, more of a calmness. Really? But you know, nothing you know, nothing could come of it then. I was just visiting Costa Rica. And it wasn't until just last year when I was visiting in 2019, I came for another 3 months because I was planning to move here. I was already planning to move here. I was staying with my friend who, strangely enough, she had met me here that first trip 7 years ago. She's from Weyburn, but she was living in New Zealand. She'd been living there for 8 years at the time. And she decided to meet me here. She was here for 2 weeks. She went back to New Zealand, packed up, and she moved here within 6 months of being here. So I was never as brave as her, but I you know, there was some regret over the years. And then, so I was staying with her last year because I would go see her almost every winter. And last year I happened to look up this guy again, and we were both free, and now we've been together for a year. So yay.
Oh my goodness, that's so sweet. Oh, if you get married, invite me.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we don't know if I can come to the wedding yet until you tell me how that even works, because you're there right now on an extended visitor visa. Like, what all has COVID changed for you?
Well, yeah, it's been really different. I mean, obviously we have the same sorts of rules, maybe even a little harsher. I don't know if Saskatchewan was taking things quite as not seriously, but as cautiously as they
Hmm.
are now. But in the beginning, the rules have always been pretty harsh here. You have to wear a mask in public always. That's been like that here, since the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, we have driving restrictions as well, to limit travel, I guess, and cars on the road and
So
people in
how do they
stores.
determine, by your vehicle
Yeah,
or
by
like?
your license plate number. So there'll be about 2 days a week where you can't drive at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much for that, Gina. That's greatly appreciated. Um, so I mean, you guys are doing the hand sanitizing, all of that stuff.
yeah, or the hand hand washing stations even right on the outside of the door. That's really common here because obviously our water isn't going to freeze, so they'll just have a little sink set up, and you can wash your hands even before you go in. That's
Mhm.
just as common as the hand sanitizer, actually.
Where would
That's different
be,
there.
for me to get a better picture of where you are in Costa Rica, what would be one of the bigger communities? Are you down by San Jose? Are you up by Liberia? Are you over by Tamarindo?
But very close to Liberia, so really close to the
Okay.
international airport. This is Playa del Coco, or El
Oh,
Coco.
I've been there.
Yep, here.
I have been there. I
So
know another
know,
Canadian woman that has family that has a place out there.
it's there's a lot of us. There's a lot of expats here in this
Yeah.
in this town.
So do you get together with other expats there? Like, do they have kind of events, or how do you even find them or know?
Well, Facebook pages are really, there's a lot of Facebook pages for Costa Rica. You can always find your town, and you can always find an English speaking one. And I do hang out with a lot of expats because I don't speak Spanish. I
Hmm.
mean, my knowledge is very beginner level. So I can't hold a conversation.
Does that
So I
make
mean,
it difficult for you to do stuff on your own out there?
it definitely can. Like, you should know your numbers before going into stores because you're not guaranteed they're going to be able to tell you the price in English. So
Hmm.
that's the most important one, I would say, if you're planning to visit, is to learn the numbers, learn the money, get the currency exchange app on your phone to check between Canadian or American and colones, because they use colones here.
Hmm. I was told once before that they changed the type of colonies that they use from time to time. Is that true?
Change them, like update the bills, or
Yeah, probably
oh
not
oh
any more than we
oh
would,
yeah,
right?
no, for sure. They actually, the colones are printed by the Canadian Mint, so they look really similar to our money. They're brightly colored, they're that plastic, they have the clear windows.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
it's really similar. Actually, a lot of the Central American countries have their money printed in
Hmm.
Canada, apparently, the Canadian Mint.
Wow.
Oh, a
Hey,
little
is
fun
everything
fact.
imperial or metric out there?
It's metric here.
So kilometers instead of miles, and
Yes, and they're serious about their metrics, because I mean, like, they will go by the kilograms and stuff. Like, we don't really tend to know our weight in kilograms,
no,
but
I
they
still
will.
never
They know
know.
theirs. Yeah. So you know how we do it. Canadians do it kind of half and half almost.
Well, you and I are in that age range where we have the generation above that used to be just imperial, like before the metric system came in. So certain things we know one way, certain things another way.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
so that
never
you could
know.
communicate with others. You had to know both.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you were out there. Were you planning to come home at all on this trip?
Well, I would have really liked to have gone home for Christmas. I didn't. I mean, I didn't really have any specific plans about when I would come home, but the last time I was home was last Christmas, and
In 2019?
yeah. So, and it would have been, and I mean, thank God. that I did go home because I just made it into this kind of time limit where you had to have been here since that time to get onto this extended visitor visa. And I mean, you have to have this visitor visa extension because all the land borders are closed. You can't cross into Nicaragua or Panama. You can't cross the border. So you have to fly out, and frankly, flying has been difficult. They're constantly changing what they're doing, and I mean, for months there were no Canadian airlines coming here at all. Only in the past couple of months, probably around December, that they started. You could book them, but they kept canceling.
Oh. Well, I guess they never know when things are going to change.
Right. So what I noticed in December, people started commenting on these expat Facebook pages, that their Air Canada flight wasn't canceled, and they were able to come here, and you can come here. People can travel. I mean, the Canadian government is not recommending any travel, any non-essential travel.
Correct.
At the moment. I don't know how long that's going to last. And I mean, obviously going home for a visit isn't essential, but.
Well, Costa Rica opened their border to the Canadians, the 1st of August, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had shut down that way as well, where you couldn't fly in.
Mm-hmm. And the U.S. was shut, they were close to the U.S. even longer.
Wow. So how do you know that they're extending your visa, and how does that even work?
Well, they kept doing an extension, realizing that so many people were going to be stuck because they couldn't go to Nicaragua, and you can't leave unless you get on a flight, but yet there weren't any flights coming here. So they realized they were going to have to extend this visitor visa, or what were people going to do? They knew they had thousands of people here on a visitor visa. And they just kept extending it. It's actually it's until March 2nd at the moment. If you arrived here since December 17th. Oh, there was between December 17th and I think it was the 27th or something like that. Anyways, and if you had re-entered anytime too far after that, you were not on this extension. And I mean, those people would have just had to have tried to fly home. They could get flights through the U.S. But I mean, it was a difficult process, an expensive, long process to get home to Canada. I think when I was looking into it, it was 30 hours travel time trying to get to home to Regina, Saskatchewan. And
for Christmas, but then you wouldn't have been able really to get back, or how would that even work? Because now your visitor visa would be over because you went home.
That's right. And so then I guess the only thing you could do is keep flying out every 3 months, because you can't go to Nicaragua, which is where I'm close to.
Yes.
But you can't. I don't know when that's going to reopen. I don't know what their plans are for that. So also, there's more difficulties in coming back here. Is this insurance, this COVID insurance that the Costa Rican government wants you to get. You have to have $50,000 worth of medical coverage and $2,000 worth of lodging in case you had to quarantine somewhere. So it's an expensive insurance.
That I researched, it had to be through one of the Costa Rican companies. When I looked for a 90-day health coverage to be able to go, it was like $700.
Yeah, it's really high. There's a few companies that have gotten in there now, I guess, that are making the cut. And apparently it's a lot more reasonable. I think the Americans have a little bit more choice as far as those insurance providers go. But I haven't looked into it too seriously, because the problem is getting back. And then what do you do once you're back? You've spent a lot of money. You don't know if you're going to be able to stay, because
then you have to quarantine for 14 days if you would have come home for Christmas.
Yes, that's all. If you go home to Canada, and now if you fly home to Canada since January 7th, you have to have a negative COVID test, which, I mean, when you're in a developing country, you don't always know that you're going to get that COVID test within 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the expense, because it is actually, I apparently there's a place that does it right across the street from me that does those tests. It's $160 US though. So if you imagine if you're flying your whole family home.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive.
Well, everything adds up so much. Now, if someone came to Costa Rica now, did they have to self-isolate when they first get there?
No, not anymore. They've quit that.
Oh, okay.
They're anxious to get visitors back. And I mean, there hasn't been some significant spike or anything due to that either. So I don't think that was a major problem. So they've given up on the quarantine. They for a while there, you also had to have the negative COVID test just to enter the country. They gave up on that pretty quickly, actually.
Oh.
I mean, they rely on tourism. The coasts, anyway, especially the coasts. They rely on tourism, and I mean, never before when I've traveled here, for 7 years now, and never before was this a place where, you might see someone asking for money on the streets. And since COVID, that's changed. It's still not like Mexico or anything like that. It's nothing like that, but it's still, you can see the pressure people are under. It's sad.
Has there been any change in crime rates out there?
Just from things that I've heard, there may be a few more break and enters, but that's not something
that's something
really
that's worldwide. I think
it's not something that has affected me personally or anyone I know. So I can't speak to that really.
So, what was Christmas like in Costa Rica?
Well, Christmas, it's not as Christmas itself. Like Christmas Day isn't the big deal, No, it's like Christmas Eve would be kind of like when you get together and have a big meal, and sometimes they wait until like midnight to have their meal and open their gifts. We didn't, thankfully, have to wait that late or that long to open presents and eat. But then Christmas Day was really quiet. I got invited to, because, you did your thing, you did your big shebang on Christmas Eve. You're not going to have 2 days worth of cooking a big meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which I mean, I went to my boyfriend's parents, right? And she cooked up a delicious meal, as always. It was lasagna, actually, which, I mean,
Is that a typical Christmas food there?
I don't know what their typical Christmas food would be. It was almost New Year's Eve is almost the bigger traditional thing. Really? Like that's when his sister came down from the city, from San Jose, and her boyfriend, and they couldn't make it for Christmas, but they made sure to be there, for New Year's Eve, and that's when there was a big pork roast and a big get together and music, and not big, it was just the family, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. That was kind of like our Christmas Day, when we dress up and you hang out and you eat. It was more like New Year's Eve was more like the Christmas Day I would expected. So for me, for Christmas Day, I actually got invited to like a beach party sorry, I didn't go on. I know that sounds exciting, but
you to a beach party for Christmas.
Yeah.
You didn't go?
I didn't go because the thing that I wanted to do, the thing I really wanted to do was to do a group video chat with my family back home in Canada. Mm-hmm. And because they were all separated too, they didn't get together. So it was all, my 2 sisters and their family and my parents and me. And we just did a group chat, and I watched my nieces open their gifts. And that's what because that's what I do every Christmas Day, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did.
Aww.
I did get a big Christmas tree at Walmart, just so you know. So
what?
I did get a big Christmas tree at Walmart. So I still have it up, actually.
You do have a Christmas tree. Okay. Yeah. But is that traditional there? Probably not.
Yeah, no, Christmas, it's very the same decorations. Like even the winter wonderland decorations, they love all that stuff too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. I had no idea that Christmas was similar. So, what would be some of the other really big holidays, Jennifer, that they celebrate out there?
And
Like,
the
what would be
next
the
big
next big
one,
event?
the next really big one will be Semana Santa, and that'll be
Easter?
Easter week, yeah. And that's actually the first time I ever came was during that. And I mean, this place was crazy. It was so full of people, you could barely move,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but yeah, typically the beaches are, I mean, not crazy at all. They're spacious. You can go out onto a beach here, and see no people sometimes.
Oh, that would be so cool. Because
Yeah,
if you go to a resort kinds, and there's not as
right.
many resorts in Costa Rica as there are in other places, right?
Hmm.
So that would be, oh, that'd be so awesome. I'm so happy for you that you get to be out there.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit jealous.
I was a little jealous at Christmas time because I was really wanting to be there. You
But
even start to miss winter even a little bit after a while. Well, lots of people don't. I can't speak for everyone on that one because a lot of people that have moved here, they can't stand snow. They don't want to have anything to do with winter. They could be happy never seeing it again. But I mean, I just was never like that. I'm a prairie girl. I like all the seasons.
this is the best, warmest winter I ever remember.
I've been hearing about it. My mom tells me every day.
I know, like on my birthday in the beginning of January, it's normally like minus 50, and I think it was like 1 degree or something. I'm like, global warming is real.
Yes, please. More of that. Except for not down here. We can't handle it.
So, is there even a possibility that if I decided that I wanted to, that I could fly to Costa Rica? What would all the steps be? Like, I have my passport. I don't have to get a COVID test. I do have to get insurance.
Mm-hmm. You have to get the insurance, and you have to fill out a health pass, and that's something that you would find online. It's all electronic. It's from the Ministry of Health here, the Ministerio de Salud. They require it, and I don't even know what information you need on there. You probably have to have your insurance information and stuff like that, and you definitely have to have the proof of the insurance as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is definitely a lot, and I mean, I know there's been people that haven't been prepared and have gotten to the airport and have been denied getting on their flight because they just don't have these things in place. They didn't look into it. I mean, it's just not the same as it was now that COVID is here. It's everything is more steps and everything's taken a lot more seriously, and you have to know. You have to know before you go.
I think I would actually have to probably fly to a different province to have a better opportunity of even getting a flight out there. Because yes, we have our international airport, but there's hardly any flights coming in and out of Regina.
Yeah, typically usually at this time of year, it would be really easy to get here to where I am to the Liberia International Airport, because it goes from WestJet would fly Regina to Calgary and then straight to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
So that short flight from Regina to Calgary, what's that, an hour and a half? And then
you're actually, and half of that's only in the air, right? 45
yeah,
minutes.
that's exactly. And then Calgary to Liberia is about 6.5 hours in flight. And then you're here. And then the Coco is where I am. It's just the beach here is just a half an hour drive from the airport.
And that's actually a really small airport. I was really surprised at how little that airport is.
Super easy and fast to navigate, right?
Yeah. I know when I flew home, when I went, their computer system went down. So all our tags on our luggage had to be handwritten instead of the computerized version. And that got us tripped up at at, when we're trying to bring our stuff home, when you hit a border, right? Because then they're going through everybody's stuff because it didn't look
Oh,
legitimate, because they don't
right.
usually see handwritten tags like that.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, sounds like a really typical problem here, actually. Something like that. I'm surprised the internet, I don't even want to say anything because, anyways, I'm
Yeah,
surprised the internet is doing as well as it is right now. Because it just sometimes there's just little glitches, like you
yeah.
just lose it for a moment and then it's back.
But you know what? That can happen anywhere too.
That's true.
So, Jennifer, how are you supporting yourself out there?
I was lucky enough to have a friend that has a business consulting firm. She's an American. It's called Costa Consultants, and she started it while living here, and I'm able to work remotely. We don't live in the same town or anything like that, but it's just basically freelance work. And I do the content creation for newsletters and blogs and social media posts, and plan out the social media posts. I was a reporter back home for a local radio station, and very similar. It's very similar type of work. Writing and reading and sharing it.
Well, that's nice because you can't get a job there otherwise. How does that work?
Right. Yeah. I as a visitor, you're not able to take a job from another Costa Rican. So yeah, I couldn't go down to the grocery store and be a clerk or whatever.
So, I'm just dreaming ahead for you. If you say you and your boyfriend got married, would he become Canadian or would you become Costa Rican, or would dual citizenship somehow come into play? How does that work?
That's a good question. Well, I don't think it's quite as easy to for some people to become Canadian, although I'm not 100% sure on that because I haven't looked into it at all. Definitely to visit, he would need to get a visa.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like when I come here, you're just given your visitor visa at the airport. When I arrive, it would be a slightly different process for him to get into Canada. You would have to apply for a visa.
So you're still Canadian. You don't want anything to get in the way of that. So does these extended visitor visas make a difference? Or you're still okay? Like you still
Yeah,
have...
I'm still definitely okay. Although I'm not. We're all kind of wondering what's going to happen in March. Whether they'll extend it, because the way they did it before with the extensions is they basically waited till the last minute, and then it was like, oh, we extended them. So everybody's kind of waiting to see, and I'm not really doing anything. Illegal, because I don't have a car. I don't drive here, and your visitor visa, you really have to keep that up to date for your driver's license. Like, you don't have to have a Costa Rica driver's license, but for you to be able to drive here, you have to keep up your whatever you have, visitor visa or residency or whatever it is. It has to be kept up to be a legal driver.
So what would it take for you to become a resident in Costa Rica? Do you know?
Yeah, well, you can start that process. You have to, I know you have to get some information back from Canada. You have to have a police check that you either have to go get or it has to be sent here. My birthday's in less than a month now at this point, and my family's been asking me since November how they could send mail to me. I still haven't figured it out. I still don't know how to get mail here. No. I've heard of people sending letters from Canada to here that took 5 weeks. So, that's how long it's going to take. So I'm not going to be getting these birthday cards, let me tell you. Sorry. Sorry, Mom.
Oh,
Figured it out yet. I mean, you can get a PO box, and so then you have that, because there's no addresses here. Like, I can't just give my address to someone back home. There is no address. The
Okay.
address would be, it's usually a description of your location. It'd be like near the Christian church, in this area
Yeah. Yeah.
of
It
town.
looks like Silver Turtle 65 knows a lot of stuff. Actually, I read earlier has a condo in Jaco. How far is Jaco from you?
Hucko, it's pretty far. It's way down south.
Oh, it's close. It's just south of San Jose, right?
Um,
Or
yeah, I
right
mean
away?
it's definitely south, and I mean it's a beach town as well. So it's somewhere on the coast.
Thank you. So we do have a question. How do people give directions? Like what if something caught on fire? What would happen? Do they even have a fire department?
Oh yeah, they do. They're called bomberos,
Bomberos.
the firemen. Yeah, and we actually got to see them in action the other day because there was a beehive here that was kind of suspect, and it had actually stung this family living in this apartment complex I'm in, and their dogs. So I mean that's not typical behavior of bees. They don't just be stinging everyone. So they had to call the bomberos, and they looked into it, and it was those Africanized bees. So
Oh,
they had to be dealt with.
are those the murder hornets they were talking about way
No,
back
I
when?
don't think they're murder hornets. But I didn't want to. I was kind of scared. I didn't want to have anything to do with them, so I stayed inside while they dealt with that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with it. So, because if you got bit and because that's another thing. You get bit by any bug out there, you're going to have a bigger reaction than someone that lives here because it's all new to your body.
Yeah,
So
I
when
get real
I
reactions to the
knew someone that got
mosquitoes. Yeah.
a bug bite and his whole leg swole up, and then we're trying to get people from our tour that knew very little Spanish either. We're trying to get information at the pharmacy because you can literally, it's like writing your own prescription.
That's true.
Say, this is what I need if you know how
Yeah.
to say it.
Right. Yeah, that's
So
for
what
sure.
would happen if something happened to you? What would you do? How do you deal with that as a visitor?
Well, there are medical centers around. I actually live right across the street from a medical center, and I mean it would be like private healthcare to me. I would pay for an appointment. As a visitor on a visitor's visa, I am also entitled, I suppose, to use their public hospital's emergency care. So if something bad happened, I could go to a public hospital and receive emergency treatment. If I wanted further care, I could decide whether I wanted that public healthcare to help me, or if I wanted to pay for the private. But it's like, if you're keeping up your visitor visa, you will get help from the public system.
But only the most emergent things. So let's say, I don't know, let's say you're trying to get a dang coconut and you fell out of the tree, and so then you broke a couple bones. You're going to need hospital care, but which part's covered and which part isn't?
Yeah, they would deal with something like that. That's emergency care. Now, if you needed surgery, like I said, I had a friend recently who broke her wrist,
Mm-hmm.
and she could have had it treated at the public hospital. She decided to go to a private hospital though and get surgery there because they were just going to cast it, and because it's her wrist, she wanted to make sure she had full movement.
Yes.
She went to the private a private hospital, and they did surgery on it and put a plate in it, and now she's getting what's it called, the care you get afterwards when they help you with physiotherapy, which she's paying for.
And she's paying for that.
She pays for those appointments.
She didn't come in like when I went. I bought coverage before I went.
She lives here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would the prices that she paid be compared to other places in North America? Like in Canada, that would have all been covered.
That would all been covered, right? She paid $9,000 for that surgery, but as a U.S. citizen, she said that surgery probably would have been more like $30,000 back home. So I mean, the Americans think that the private healthcare here is awesome, and so many people move here just for that reason. I mean, it is very good care. We're just Canadians aren't used to paying for our great care that we get. You know?
Yes, that's true. We are very, very lucky here that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, you really realize that when you leave, and you think, what if something happened to me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Thank God nothing has happened to me.
So you didn't have to have health coverage necessarily when you went at that point in time before COVID.
No, you don't have to have anything to come here. I mean, it's that's the risk you take. That's why my friend ended up paying $9,000 for her surgery. She has
Mhm.
since gotten Blue Cross. That's that she pays, I think, around $60 a month for,
You can
and
get
that's
Blue
just to
Cross
have.
out here, or she's
Yeah,
got to go
yep.
through the American system.
They
Which,
have Blue Cross here.
oh, okay. Oh, well, that's good to know. Very good to
I
know.
mean, yeah, no, it would still be you would still be using your the American or the Canadian um, company. I'm pretty sure, but
So let's say, okay, so you're right now you're on your extended visitor visa, and let's say you wanted to start working towards becoming a permanent resident. What would you have to do?
that's something I don't have
Don't
any
no knowledge
information
of
on.
that
I
at
haven't
this
looked
point.
into it. I haven't made those sorts of decisions yet. I feel like though I haven't answered that question about how you would tell someone where you are. So I'm gonna give my old address was I knew it in Spanish. Oh no, I can't think of the word for church right now. I always forget church. I always want to say escuela, but that's school. Iglesia is church. So you'd say Monte Seco, which means dry mountain, but that was the name of kind of that neighborhood. So you had to
Mm-hmm.
know that. You had to first of all, you have to just know the neighborhoods. Monte
Okay.
Seco, cerca la iglesia, near the church.
I'm in this neighborhood near the church, and you just hope
Yeah,
people find you. I
la
guess it
iglesia
makes
cristiana, near the Christian church. Yeah, that's what it was. There we
Wow.
go. That was the address. That's what you would say if you had an emergency and you had to call someone. You would say, or I mean, or if you just wanted to get a cab. I struggled just to get a cab out there because I would never. I didn't know how to describe it. I have lucked out a few times and got Uber, which is much easier, of course, because it's using your location.
Oh, they have Uber there?
Yeah. Sometimes, like if somebody's, like I mean, by sometimes I mean sometimes it's in here in this town, you'll find a driver. But in the bigger towns and certainly in the city, oh yeah, Uber everything, Uber Eats, all of it.
So to answer Lance with Boondocking with Boomer, Jennifer is right near the beach, and that beach is black sand.
Yeah, it's a black sand beach. It's from the volcanic. I don't want to say ash. That's not quite right. The volcanic rocks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I have been there. We went deep sea fishing off of that coast. So yeah, the waters were really awesome, but you don't spend a lot of time in the water. So
Well,
what?
not alone.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So what
always
are
make
some?
sure I have a friend swimming with me.
So what do you do for fun out there?
Definitely. Well, I just came back from spending a week in another town where that. Remember, I said that best friend of mine who visited with me 7 years ago, and she moved
Mm-hmm.
here. She doesn't live in this town. She did originally, but she has since moved away a little bit, and it's really only about 45 minutes away. And I was staying with my boss, though, actually. Kate is her name, and I was staying with her, and she lives in the same town as my friend Chantel, and we, I don't know, we go to like we'll go to like a little bar and have drinks by the pool. That was something we did that we had a lot of fun because we had there were these beanbag chairs. And we're like, should we sit in these? Or we're like, are we too old to sit in beanbag chairs? And we're like, yeah, let's sit in them. And we sat. They were so comfortable. And then we all thought, why don't we all have beanbag chairs?
When I was out there, there was one bar not far from the beach, and it was a sports bar, and it was Canadian. Is that still there?
Um, it was
I can't remember the
Canadian.
name.
It probably isn't because they change so
But they like to
frequently.
say that though, right? Because it was all English speaking servers. Like everybody had the ability to speak English. Because most places out there, you didn't come across that.
Well,
Like,
I mean, a lot of the people in on the coasts, they do speak, decent enough English to get by with us because they're so used to tourists, and I mean that's who they're serving. So
yeah,
it's pretty easy to get by without speaking Spanish, but you want to know a few basics to help yourself out.
for sure.
It'll
Absolutely.
help.
I just want to say a quick happy birthday to Stinky Banana. You got to tell us how old you are. We got a couple new people in here, like where are we staying? Anne Holland had a question. Oh, I got a couple questions here for you. So Anne Holland says, don't Canadians pay your health coverage through your taxes? Yes, when we're in Canada.
Yeah,
And the
right.
only way we can get coverage outside of Canada is if Canada has sent us there. So I know someone in Saskatchewan that had a tumor, couldn't get it treated here, wanted to get it done in the States, but was supposed to wait for a referral to the US by our Canadian health ministry, and it would have been covered then, but because it was done beforehand, didn't get covered.
Oh
Right.
no.
So just because we're Canadian and we get our stuff paid here doesn't mean we get it paid when we go anywhere else.
I
So
wish.
here's a question for you, Jennifer. Does the black sand hurt your feet compared to the white sand beaches in the sun? That's a great question, Tim.
Like because of the heat. I haven't noticed it being that much different. Sand, I don't know, but sand that's been in the sun is hot no matter what. So you just gotta run past that part until where it's wet. As long as you get to that, but I actually haven't noticed it being any worse, really, strangely, than the whiter sand beaches, which we have whiter sand beaches as well down the coast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there is an awful lot of there very little communities along the coast in the area that you're at. A lot of little fishing communities. Do you benefit from lots of fresh fish? What kind of vegetables do you eat out there? Like, how is it different than the diet I'd be eating here?
I think that I do eat more fruits and vegetables here, because there'll be stands of fruit and vegetables. And I mean, I remember the other day buying like a week's worth of fruit and vegetable, and I had this huge bag at the fruit stand, and it was like $10. And I remember thinking, I was like, why do I shop at the grocery store at all? Because we have a big fancy grocery store here too. I mean, we have more than one grocery store, but there's one big fancy one called the Other
Mm-hmm.
Mercado, and it's like the real Americanized one. But I mean, everyone shops at it. But it's
But
like
anything
it's
that's
just
American
it's
or
just like,
Canadian dish is expensive there.
yeah, anything that's imported is a lot more costly. So you are better off to try to use local more local stuff, things grown here and stuff. But so yeah, you can get a lot, and there's a lot of different fruit and veg out there that you'll enjoy, that you'll learn to enjoy. I was just saw somebody asking questions the other day, thinking that they didn't have spinach here, but it really just looks different. The leaves are more of an arrowhead shape, so as long as you know what you're looking for, you'll find it. So yeah. And then they have their own avocados. You can get the Mexican avocados, the black ones like we're used to seeing back home. You can get those. They're quite expensive, maybe even more so than they are back home.
Oh,
But they are imported. They also have to be imported. Those are Mexican avocados, and they have Costa Rican avocados are huge, and they're green, and they don't have the bumpy skin, and they taste very similar. Some people don't like them because it's not the taste they're looking for. It's a milder avocado, I would say, but I mean you do get so much more out of it,
yeah.
fruit wise, and they're big and they're a lot cheaper.
Wow.
So just sort of change your tastes a little bit. And
We literally have like 10 minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, absolutely put them in the chat. We have a silly question from Boondocking with Boomer. Lance always has a silly questions. Well, maybe it's not silly, but so he's like, does Jennifer go camping? Do you go camping in Costa Rica?
No, I haven't, and I've always wondered about that too because I went to a river with some Canadians the other day. They're both ex-Canadian military, and they live nearby, and they decided to take me. And they were actually making jerky. Their family makes jerky, and I was ordering some for Christmas because that's not common here. So
yeah,
so I was getting jerky for Christmas gifts, and they invited me, and they were talking about there was a campsite at this river, and they're like, oh, this should be our next camping spot. And I was like, you guys go camping here? I thought that sounded kind of terrifying a little bit because of all the snakes and the bugs. I mean, there's always a bug. There's nowhere you can be in Costa Rica where there's not going to also be a bug. There's going to be a bug.
So the snakes everywhere.
I mean, I haven't seen very many snakes. But if you were camping, I think you're going to see a snake. My boyfriend at his job almost stepped on a coral snake today, which is highly venomous. It's red and black. You don't want to mess with it.
Shivers right up my spine. That is like my So
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of snakes. I think you have to be out, in the woods sort of thing. You don't have to be, but I haven't seen very many. But you're going to see there's no way to escape ants. You're going to be there's going to be ants.
Those little there too. I'm trying to remember. Those little bugs you can't see that bite when you're along the water, and then they don't show up for a day or two, and you're itchier, and you can imagine.
Oh, the sand fleas, which is what I call them. Oh, yes. And I don't get bit quite as badly here, but when I go to Brasilito Beach, I have to put on, as long as I put on bug spray, it's fine. But if I don't, I am messed up from those sand fleas. I found a green clay, though, that somebody makes here. There's these two, I call them the spice hippies, and they go to all the markets and they sell spices and they have weird stuff. And they have this green clay, and you just add a little water. And if you put it on one of those bites, I mean, those bites used to last me weeks. That's how, and then sometimes they start to heal, and then they get itchy again. But not with the clay. The clay is literally the only cure for it like sucks the poison out or something. I'm not sure.
I wish I'd have known about that. You are a wealth of information. So we got a couple questions. We're going to have to go a little bit quicker. Okay. How much is a loaf of sourdough bread?
I would say it's probably going to run you $6.
$6 for a loaf of bread?
For a more specialty, it would be more of a specialty bread, and you'd have to go to a bakery, and it would be that much. The beer, so you can get a 6-pack for 4,000, like of the Imperial, their beer, 6-pack for 4,000 colones, which I always go from American to Canadian, which is around $8-9.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. Everything for the currency exchanges is always compared to American, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where we go. It's all based on what the American dollar is at the time, and then our exchange on top of that. So we lose a lot of money usually. Yeah, switching along.
Yeah. So I mean, $2 a beer, maybe not in the bar, but quite often you can find $2.50, $3 beer in the bar even. If you want to know my favorite thing, it's my Yeti. Because your cup, if you have even a slightly cold drink, it's always going to sweat. It's going to make a huge mess. It keeps your ice cubes from actually staying ice. And I use it every day.
Oh my goodness. This brings up something I did see out there, and it was where you live too. The women are expensive. There is a lot of prostitution out there.
Yes. But you don't see a lot of, you're not seeing a lot of that now. Let me tell you, I don't know what those poor girls are doing. But if you go to a place like Hawko down south, you'll see a lot of that, and it'll be obvious. It's a little more hidden up here, maybe. Mm-hmm. And you haven't seen a whole lot of it at all since COVID.
Wow, that's made a difference. So there's another question. Have you seen the big telescopes on top of the mountain? Do you know what that's referring
No,
to?
no.
Okay. On to the next one. How much is your
Right.
internet out there? Because that's expensive, isn't it? And power is expensive.
Well, I mean, I live in a in an apartment, so I mean, it's all included. I live in this cute little studio actually, and it has a pool, and
Oh,
internet's everything, cable, everything's included except for electricity. Electricity is never included because they don't know how much AC you're going to use. Some people go crazy, and some people don't. So it's $400 a month US, and I think it's pretty
so it's
decent
like
for what you get.
600 Canadian a month and then just pay the power? Are you
You
kidding me?
just pay the electricity. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so rent can be really cheap, but cars are super expensive. To speak about the internet, I think my friend said she pays for her basic internet, her basic, Wi-Fi setup is, I think she told me it's $30 a month.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
Yeah,
And you have
actually, I
a
would
cell
say
phone yet?
internet's cheaper.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do, and all I did was I bought a SIM card. I bought a SIM card, and I got a few minutes on it that lasted me a week. That cost $10, and I still just keep adding minutes on it at the grocery store, and I just add on $10 at a time. But
Oh,
lately, it has only been lasting me a week, so I'd say I probably pay $40 a month on my cell phone.
we got a 5-minute warning, and I have a question. Am I going to fly Vita in and move now?
Yep.
Megan, for 600 Canadian a month, Vita can stay at home. That was another thing I was worried about too. I mean, I'm probably going to get vaccinated right away, and I don't know how that's going to work for you guys. So, I mean, there's lots of talk like we may not be able to travel anywhere without a vaccination. We're wondering if it's going to go on our passports or not. I mean, is that something that you guys have any rumors about?
No, just talk, and I'm definitely really worried about it. I'm not a fan on getting something quite this that came out quite this quick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything against vaccinations per se. I'm just concerned about this one, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm flying out there. Let's say there's a suite next to you. Paula's moving on in. Do they
And
keep
there's a hotel actually, and there's a hotel right here too because this place is kind of almost attached to a hotel. So there's like a hotel right on the other side of the gate here too. So it's pretty
so
easy
even
to
with
visit me.
everything going on with COVID, is that pool still open?
Yeah, the pool at the hotel is open. A few condos shut down their pool for several months,
Oh,
and people were upset about that because obviously they're outside, and I mean you don't really get super close in the pool. And I mean, a lot of these condos have really old people, and they certainly aren't out there partying in the pool. So they were upset they couldn't have their little dips and stuff. But that's not a thing anymore. You can go no, even the condos. Everyone can go in the pools now.
and the beaches.
The beach just right now because of
Now it's
Christmas, they have a limit on right now, and it's only open from 5 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. But that's ending again January 17th. So they're constantly having these, depending on if they think there's going to be a lot of people traveling from San Jose to the beaches, they will put these little limits on just to try to hold back a little of the visitors.
I just want to make a note really quickly to everybody watching in the chat. When we do the raid at 8 o'clock, that is pinned to the top of the chat. So you guys can click on that and it'll take you directly to Van Life with Gina's interview with Van City Adventures. And if you want to follow Jen, she has Jennifer's Journey on Facebook. And I have a link to that in the description of this live stream below.
Oh, thank you. I was going to mention that, but I forgot all about it.
Hey, sweetheart, I keep telling you, start a YouTube channel. I would follow every single thing you do. I would. I want to know the real way it is for, like, you're a Canadian woman. We're not that far apart in age. I want to know what really to genuinely expect. When I went before, it was very sheltered.
Right.
Sheltered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's really different when you live here as opposed to visit here. When you visit here, you think, God, I want to live here, and then you live here, and you're like, well, sometimes I want to, and sometimes I want, sometimes I want to go home, But it is difficult. It's far away. I mean, but I do love it here. I don't want to lose my opportunity to be here. which
Mm-hmm.
I would be afraid might happen right now if I left.
Yeah, that is scary. Oh, are those furnished apartments?
Yes, they're usually always furnished with everything that you need and all the dishes, everything.
Ah. And Jill says, thank you, Jennifer. Keep exploring the world. Good vibes. Thank you for
Oh,
that, Jill.
thank you, Jill.
Oh man,
Thanks.
I
I
wish
really
we had
appreciate it.
more time to talk. But what would you say is, if you went back home to Canada, what's the thing you'd miss the most other than your boyfriend in Costa Rica?
I think maybe the easygoing vibes. You know, their saying here is "pura vida," and they just say that for anything. Like, "How are you?" "Oh, pura vida," or it can mean "Thank you," "You're welcome."
That's how I even knew what Vita meant. My husband was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So it means life. Everyone out there, and it
yeah.
means pure. Pura vida means pure life, and that's they really appreciate nature here. They like to slow down and appreciate nature. They don't like they mind their own business. They keep to themselves. They don't like to tell people what to do. And so, which I found out really quick when we were having a flood at our house, and then the neighbor had put up this berm, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. And I marched over there and I broke it down. And I said, "Listen, you're flooding everyone downstream from you, buddy. So this berm has got to go." So sometimes you have to be a little tough around here, but
Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for being here, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for coming out. And we are going to raid Van Life at Gina. And so my moderators have been dropping those links, and it's also pinned to the chat. And I will see you guys there. Have a great night.
thanks everyone. Thanks for having me.